You won't believe what 8 Filipino Scout Rangers did that left the British commanders stunned. This is what we're going to do today. It's a real story. You guys said it on the channel. Of course, I'm reading all your comments, so feel free to post. What do you think we should see next on the channel? Subscribe if you like what you're seeing, and let's go and dive in this, because Filipino stories, people, country are amazing.
October 14, 2019, Wales, United Kingdom. The sun hasn't risen yet. The temperature is 3 degrees Celsius. That's 37 degrees Fahrenheit.
Cold.
Cold enough to see your breath. Cold enough that your hands go numb if you don't keep moving. In a misty forest clearing, 8 Filipino soldiers stand in a line. They're about to face the most brutal military test on planet Earth, a test that has broken seasoned Special Forces operators from the United States, broken British paratroopers, broken Australian commandos. A test where 1/3 of the teams won't even finish. A test called the Cambrian Patrol, NATO's most punishing military challenge. And these 8 Filipinos, from a small Southeast Asian nation most people can't find on a map, are about to shock the entire military world. This is the story of how Philippine Scout Rangers beat 139 elite teams from the most powerful militaries on Earth. How they did it carrying the wrong equipment. How they did it in terrain they'd never seen before. How they did it using techniques that made British commanders stop and take notes. How they turned a jungle fighting regiment into international legends in just 48 hours. And how they proved something that changed how the world sees Filipino soldiers forever. Wales is a small country in the United Kingdom. Mountains everywhere. Cold, wet, gray skies most of the year. The Cambrian Mountains cut through the middle like a jagged spine. Steep hills, rocky terrain, swamps that can swallow you to your knees, rivers so cold they steal the breath from your lungs. This is where the British Army tests soldiers. This is where dreams of glory die in the mud. Every October since 1959, the British military has held the Cambrian Patrol. It started as a simple marching competition for Welsh Territorial Army soldiers. Walk 70 miles, shoot some targets, go home. But over 60 years, it evolved into something far more terrifying. Today, it's called the Olympics of Military Patrolling, the toughest patrol.
Sorry to stop for 1 second, guys. I have some other videos, of course, with Scout Rangers from the Philippines. I'm going to leave the cards at the end of the video, so make sure to stick over here. And of course, we have to think about the history of the Philippines. I mean, Lapu-Lapu, if you don't know that, I'm sorry, but you should, because it's an amazing story. With Magellan, of course, I have that on the channel. So what I wanted to say is that the Filipinos had always resources, and especially in harsh terrain, they know how to do it. And that's why Scout Rangers are one of the best military in the world. So,
patrol exercise in the world. Teams from 32 nations compete. The United States sends its best. Russia sends Spetsnaz. France sends Foreign Legion. Australia sends SAS. Pakistan sends Special Services Group. Every elite unit you can name, they all come to Wales to prove themselves. The rules are brutal. 8 soldiers per team, 60 kilometers of mountain terrain, 48 hours continuous movement, no sleep, no rest. 32 kilograms of equipment per person. That's 70 pounds on your back. You climb over 1,000 meters of elevation. You descend 1,000 meters in the dark, in the rain, in the freezing cold. And that's just the walking part. Along the route, you face 16 different military challenges. Chemical warfare drills where you run in full protective suits that feel like wearing a plastic bag over your entire body while doing sprints. Minefield navigation where one wrong step means mission failure. Casualty evacuation where you carry a wounded soldier while enemies shoot at you. River crossings where you wade through freezing water up to your chest while keeping your weapons and equipment dry. Intelligence gathering, prisoner handling, artillery coordination, close combat. Every skill a soldier needs to survive modern warfare, all compressed into 2 days of absolute hell.
The judging is merciless. British Army assessors follow every team. They watch everything. One mistake and your points drop. Get lost and you fail. Give up and you're done. Most teams that start don't finish. Those that do finish often get just a participation certificate. Only the very best get bronze. Exceptional teams get silver. And gold? Gold is almost impossible. Only a handful of teams in history have ever earned gold at Cambrian Patrol. The Philippine Scout Rangers had never competed before.
I
Never
pray to
even
God
seen
that the
the
Philippines
Cambrian
got the
Patrol.
cold.
But in 2019, the Philippine Army made a decision. Send the best. Show the world what Filipino soldiers can do. So they held trials. Scout Rangers from across the Philippines competed. Hundreds of elite operators fighting for 8 spots. The competition was brutal. Days of testing, endurance runs, tactical exercises, navigation challenges. Finally, 8 men emerged, led by First Lieutenant Junjun Bayudon. These 8 would carry the Philippine flag to Wales. But there was a problem, a massive problem that nobody wanted to talk about. The Scout Rangers train in tropical jungles, hot, humid, thick vegetation. They fight terrorists in the mountains of Mindanao. They conduct operations in rice paddies and coconut groves. They know how to move silently through dense forest. They know how to survive on minimal food and water in 100-degree heat.
In Wales, it's
They're
different.
masters
It's no
of jungle warfare, the absolute best at what they do. But Wales isn't a jungle. Wales is cold. Wales is Rocky Mountains with no
Totally
trees.
different.
Wales is freezing rain and mud and terrain that looks like the surface of the moon. The Scout Rangers had never trained in anything like this. They didn't have the right cold weather gear. They'd never practiced navigation in that type of terrain. They'd never done anything in temperatures that cold. It would be like asking an Olympic swimmer to suddenly compete in mountain climbing. Different world, different skills, different everything. The 8 Rangers arrived in Wales 2 weeks before the competition. They stepped off the plane into weather that felt like walking into a refrigerator. The team leader looked at the mountains and realized they were in serious trouble. These weren't Filipino mountains covered in green jungle. These were bare hills, rocky and exposed, where wind cut through you like a knife. The cold got into your bones. Your fingers went numb, your feet ached. And they had to navigate 60 kilometers through this carrying 70 pounds in the dark, while being tested on skills they'd only read about in manuals. Other teams had been preparing for months. The Americans trained in similar mountains in Colorado. The British soldiers grew up in this exact terrain. The European teams had cold weather gear that cost more than a Filipino soldier makes in a year. Everyone had GPS devices for backup, even though they weren't allowed to use them. Everyone had the latest night vision. Everyone had experience in this environment. The Filipinos? They had their jungle boots. They had determination. They had each other. That's it. No fancy equipment, no environmental advantage, no previous experience. Just 8 men who refused to quit and a national reputation riding on their shoulders. The odds were completely against them. International military observers didn't even mention the Philippines in their pre-competition analysis. Why would they? Jungle fighters don't win mountain.
Okay, this is getting really interesting. I mean, all the odds are against us, right? Everybody has the best gear, everything, experience. And unfortunately, us arriving there, I'm saying us because I consider myself a Filipino, sorry. And I'm proud that I feel like that. And being there, you know, with all this, okay, what the hell should we do? But like I said in previous videos that I have on the channel, let's think about the Korean War, where 40, right, Filipinos, 199 Filipinos, whatever, against 40,000. And think about the odds, I mean, but the Filipino made it. So it's about courage, DNA, heart, resilience, strength, everything combined together that, in my opinion, will beat every single one of the best equipment or whatever it is. Because being a Filipino is something special.
Competitions. That's just common sense. October 14th arrived. 0 dark 30. That's military speak for very early morning before sunrise. The Filipino team gathered with 139 other teams. American Rangers stood tall in perfect formations. British paras looked hard and ready. Australian infantry looked like they could run through a brick wall. Russian soldiers stared straight ahead with dead eyes that had seen combat. Everyone looked professional.
Everyone looked prepared. Everyone looked like they belonged. The Filipinos stood in their line, shorter than most teams, using older equipment than most teams, quieter than most teams. Some of the other competitors glanced at them and looked away. Just another small nation here to participate. Nobody expected anything special. Nobody except the 8 Rangers who had made a promise to each other. We don't care about the cold. We don't care about the terrain. We don't care what anyone expects. We're going to show them what Filipinos can do. The British commander gave the briefing.
Wow.
Scenario based on modern warfare. Enemy forces in the area. Multiple objectives. 60 kilometers, 48 hours. Move out at different times to spread the teams across the course. The Filipino team received their orders. Lieutenant Bayudan studied the map. Terrain he'd never seen in person. Navigation points he'd have to find in the dark. He took a deep breath. Time to prove everyone wrong. Hour 1. The team moved out into darkness. Immediately they hit the first challenge. The terrain was brutal. Not like climbing a Filipino mountain where you can grab trees and vines. This was loose rock and slippery grass. Your feet slid backward with every step. The 70-pound pack pulled at your shoulders. Within 30 minutes, every muscle was screaming. But the Filipinos had something the other teams didn't expect. Jungle training creates different endurance. When you've patrolled through chest-deep swamps in 100-degree heat wearing full combat gear, cold mountains feel hard, but doable. When you've climbed Filipino peaks in monsoon rain carrying even heavier loads, this is just another day at work. Painful, yes. Impossible, no. Hour 6. The chemical warfare drill. Teams had to don full protective suits and gas masks, then complete tactical movements while breathing through filters. In the cold Welsh morning, this was torture. The suits trapped sweat. The masks made every breath a struggle. Many teams slowed down dramatically. Some team members started cramping. The Filipinos? They'd done chemical drills in Philippine heat and humidity. Doing it in the cold was actually easier. They moved through the drill faster than anyone expected.
Exactly.
The British assessors made notes. These Filipinos are different than we thought. Hour 12. The first night. No sleep. Keep moving. Navigate in total darkness using only a compass and map. This is where teams started making mistakes, getting lost, missing checkpoints, wasting energy going the wrong direction. The Scout Rangers had an advantage nobody anticipated. In the jungle, navigation is about reading terrain you can barely see through thick vegetation. You learn to feel the land, notice tiny details, trust your instincts. These skills transferred perfectly to navigating Welsh mountains in the dark. While other teams relied heavily on technology and got confused when landmarks didn't match their expectations, the Filipinos trusted their training. Read the terrain, trust the compass, move with confidence. They hit every checkpoint perfectly. Hour 18. The casualty evacuation drill. A team member goes down with simulated injuries. You have to treat them under fire, then carry them while moving tactically to an extraction point. This is where the Filipinos shocked everyone. In the Philippine jungles, Scout Rangers regularly evacuate wounded through terrain with no roads, no helicopters, just pure human effort carrying brothers through impossible conditions. They've done real evacuations in combat. This drill was training for most teams. For the Filipinos, it was muscle memory. They moved faster, more efficiently, with better tactical awareness than teams with newer equipment and bigger soldiers. The British assessors stopped writing, started watching carefully. Who are these guys? Hour 24. Hallway point. Most teams were struggling, exhaustion setting in, feet covered in blisters, shoulders raw from pack straps. Some teams already quit. Others were falling behind schedule. The Filipino team? They were exactly on time. But here's what separated them from everyone else. In Filipino military culture, the team is everything. You don't complain, you don't show weakness. You carry your brother's burden if he's struggling. The 8 Rangers had trained together for months. They knew each other, trusted each other completely. When one man's feet were destroyed by blisters, another carried part of his load without being asked. When another ranger was cramping, the team slowed just enough to keep him moving, but not enough to fall behind schedule. They operated like a single organism, 8 bodies, 1 mind.
Like a family.
Hour 30. The water crossing. Wading through a freezing river carrying all equipment. This broke many teams. The water was so cold it felt like being stabbed with knives. Your body goes into shock. Your muscles seize up. Teams stumbled, dropped equipment. Some soldiers had to be pulled out by safety personnel. The Filipinos had never trained in water this cold, never experienced anything like it, but they'd been cold for 30 hours straight already. They'd pushed through everything else. This was just one more challenge. They formed a human chain, helped each other across, kept weapons dry, kept moving. The British safety team stood ready to help. They didn't need it. 8 Filipinos emerged on the far bank, freezing but functional, and kept marching. Hour 36, the final 12 hours. This is where champions are made or broken. Your body is beyond exhausted. You've had maybe 2 hours of sleep total in small naps during brief stops. Your feet are bleeding inside your boots. Your shoulders are screaming. Your mind is foggy. Navigation becomes harder because you can't think straight. Communication breaks down because everyone's too tired to speak. This is where teams fall apart. The Scout Rangers had one advantage that trumped all the disadvantages. They'd fought in Marawi. Some of these 8 men had been there. They'd experienced real urban combat, real bullets, real death. They'd seen friends die. They'd gone days without sleep under actual enemy fire, not exercise conditions. Cambrian patrol was brutal, yes, but it wasn't someone actually trying to kill you. That perspective changed everything. When your feet hurt so bad you want to cry, you remember carrying a wounded brother through Marawi while ISIS was shooting at you. When you're so tired you can barely stand, you remember fighting for 5 months straight with inadequate supplies. When you want to quit, you remember that you're representing every Filipino soldier who ever wore the uniform. You don't stop. Hour 42, the close combat drill. Teams had to assault a position, clear enemy fighters, handle prisoners, all while maintaining tactical discipline. Most teams were sloppy at this point, too tired to move with precision. The Filipinos had drilled close combat 10,000 times. Muscle memory took over. They moved like they were fresh, smooth, professional, fast. The British assessors were no longer just watching, they were impressed. These Southeast Asian soldiers were outperforming European and American teams that had every advantage. Hour 48, the finish line. 60 kilometers done, every challenge completed. The 8 Scout Rangers crossed together. Not one person left behind, not one piece of equipment lost, not one checkpoint missed. They'd done it. 48 hours of continuous movement through the most brutal military test on Earth, in terrain they'd never seen, in weather they'd never experienced, against teams with better equipment and more preparation. And they'd not just survived, they'd excelled. The results came 3 days later. At the award ceremony, 140 teams stood in formation. Most would receive participation certificates. Some would get bronze. Very few would get silver. Gold was almost impossible. The announcer called out the bronze medalists. Good teams, solid performance. Then the silver medalists. The announcer's voice rang out across the Welsh training ground. Philippine Scout Rangers, silver medal. Second place out of 140 teams from 32 nations. Only Ireland had beaten them. Only one nation. The 8 Filipinos stood at attention as they received their medals. Some had tears in their eyes. The weight of what they'd accomplished hit them. They'd proven something that couldn't be denied. Filipino soldiers are world-class, not just in the jungle, anywhere, against anyone. The British officers congratulated them personally. Other competing teams, soldiers from America and Europe and Australia, came to shake their hands. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. How did you do it? The answer was simple and profound. The Scout Rangers didn't have the best equipment. They didn't have environmental advantages. They didn't have the most preparation time. What they had was Filipino resilience, bayanihan, the cultural value of working together no matter what. They had decades of jungle warfare creating endurance that transferred to any environment. They had real combat experience that made training exercises feel manageable by comparison. They had absolute refusal to quit because quitting would shame every Filipino soldier before them. and they had each other. Lieutenant Bayudan said something in his post-competition interview that went viral in military circles. A journalist asked what made the difference. He said this: "We've been fighting in our own country for 70 years. We've faced every challenge. We've survived with nothing. We've won battles we shouldn't have won. That's in our blood. The cold was hard. The mountains were hard. But we're Scout Rangers. We don't know how to quit." The impact of that silver medal cannot be overstated. In the Philippine military, it became legendary. Scout Rangers who weren't even there tell the story to new recruits. In international military circles, it changed perceptions. Before Cambrian Patrol 19, many foreign militaries didn't know much about the Philippine Army. After, everyone knew about Scout Rangers. Requests came in for joint training. Other nations wanted to learn Filipino techniques. The Australian Army specifically asked to train with Scout Rangers on jungle warfare. The Americans invited them to more exercises. The British military wrote articles analyzing what the Filipinos did right. But most importantly, it proved something to Filipinos themselves. The Philippine military is not second class. Filipino soldiers can compete with anyone, anywhere. Give them a mission and they'll find a way. The disadvantages don't matter. The obstacles don't matter. The expectations don't matter. What matters is the heart of a Filipino warrior. And that heart, forged through decades of fighting to protect their nation, can overcome anything. 4 years later, in 2023, another Scout Ranger team went to Cambrian Patrol. They won silver again. Not a fluke, not luck, a pattern, a standard. Philippine Scout Rangers now have a reputation in international military competitions. Underestimate them at your own risk. They'll show up with older equipment and less preparation time and still beat teams that should dominate them on paper. Because war isn't won on paper. War is won by soldiers who refuse to be defeated. The 8 Rangers from 2019 are heroes in the Philippines. They've been promoted. They train new Scout Rangers now, and they tell every new soldier the same thing. You are good enough. You are strong enough. The world might not know it yet, but you'll show them. Just like they did in Wales. Just like Filipino soldiers have always done when given the chance. We don't have the most money. We don't have the fanciest equipment. We don't need it. We have something better. We have Filipino fighting spirit. We have each other. We have a proud military tradition going back centuries. And we have an absolute refusal to let our nation down. That's the real story of Cambrian Patrol 2019. Not just 8 men winning silver, but an entire nation's military proving to the world what Filipinos have always known. We are warriors. We are world class. We are Scout Rangers. And when we set our minds to something, nothing will stop us. Not the cold, not the mountains, not the odds. Nothing. That's what makes a Filipino soldier different. That's what they did that 139 other teams couldn't match. They brought Filipino heart to a European mountain, and the mountain lost.
Oh, beautiful sentence now at the end. Guys, I mean, okay, maybe Ireland was better in that because they had, you know, even equipment more, but it doesn't matter. For me, Philippines won. And another thing that we should think about, we're talking about Scout Rangers here, and I was talking about Malawi. I have the documentary on the channel with everything that happened over there. But it's not only about Scout Rangers. It's about the Filipino strength. It doesn't matter if you're a soldier or a civil or just a person just holding their phone right now and watching the video. Your resilience, your way of smiling through problems, and it doesn't matter how hard it is, still going ahead. And even if you don't have much, still helping the other. It's in a different, way, because we're talking about soldiers, we're talking about humans, normally civil, but it's almost the same thing. And this combined together is just the Filipino spirit, the DNA, the blood, the beauty of being a Filipino. So beautiful story, guys. I don't know if you knew about this. Well, 2019 there were, in 2023. So I don't know if they're gonna participate more, but if I'm gonna find something else here on the channel, I'm gonna try to post it. Of course, the original link is down below in the video, in the description, if you wanna go and check that out. I hope you enjoy it. Like the video, subscribe. Let me know what you think down below. What do you think we should see next on the channel? A lot of other beautiful story about the Philippines and about the world here. So make sure to stick with us. Until then, God bless the Philippines and stay safe.